Good morning. Good morning. It's Coach D. Anthony with today's segment of Morning Minutes with Coach D. So today I'm going to talk about a topic that tends to be pretty near and dear for survivors, regardless of what stage they happen to be at in terms of their recovery, whether the loss happened recently or it was years or even decades ago. What we're going to talk about today is how do you get your mojo back? How do you begin to get a sense of confidence and empowerment again? So obviously, when we get hit by loss and then the subsequent grief that comes in, our very foundation is shaken. And with that hit goes our confidence, our sense of self, our sense of, most of us have always felt like we've been strong up to this point or up to the point of the loss that, people around us depended on us to be able to make decisive decisions and figure out what needed to be done. That people leaned on us and trusted us, and that's whether it's at home or at work. We've always been in that strong and empowered position, and then we get rocked, and we're consumed with all these questions. What if? Why not? Why didn't I know? Why didn't I do things differently? Our world begins to be nothing but questions. And in that space, when we're reeling from that hit and when there's nothing but questions and doubts, and we're painting our actions in the most negative ways, we are we are accusing ourselves or blaming ourselves in many cases for things that we never had control of. In that space, everything begins to feel unsure. And so today, what I wanted to do was talk about a couple of the insights slash tools that I typically work with clients on. I'm going to take two of the tools that I work one-on-one with my clients on in terms of helping them begin to step back into that space where they can begin to depend on themselves again and depend on their decision making again and navigate all of this to get to a more empowered space. So the first tool I want to talk about is changing our technique is changing the space that you're living in. And the first step for doing that is changing the language, changing the messaging that you're giving yourself. If you always speak in doubt, if you always speak in uncertainty, then guess what? Uncertainty is going to be the space that you live in. So if you're saying, which oftentimes we are, especially when we are struggling with grief, if you're always saying probably or maybe or could be, I'm not sure, those types of messages, if you are communicating those to yourself and in your conversations within, your internal messaging, as well as in terms of your conversations with everyone else. If everything is uncertain, then that's the space that you're going to live in. And the more that you communicate to yourself that you're uncertain, the more that you're going to believe that you're not in a position to be certain. And that becomes your perspective of you, that becomes your perspective of life. And as this happens over and over and over again, everything becomes less and less sure. So what I want you to do is start to notice that when you say probably or maybe, I want you to start to recognize when you're using those words and look to begin to eliminate them from your day-to-day conversation. Because if you think about it, part of the reason why you felt so certain before is you weren't using a lot of probablys and maybes without realizing it. You're doing that a lot more. And that is, at least in terms of all the people that I've worked with over the last 5 years, that is typically playing the biggest part of all as to why there's so much uncertainty swirling around the individual. It's because everything has happened has caused them to shift their language within. Okay, so that language is very important. In fact, as pretty much any of my clients can attest to, there's one phrase that is not allowed in coaching sessions with me, and that's the phrase, I don't know. And if you think about it, the reason for that is at the point that you say, I don't know, you're not then marshaling your thoughts and bringing your intelligence together to then figure that situation out. Typically, once you say, I don't know, it is an admission that whatever that topic is beyond your comprehension, and you're giving yourself the okay to let it go. So instead of saying, I don't know, just put your brain to trying to figure out what the answer is and coming up with the best possible solution. We have to be in a position to step forward if we want to feel more certain, more confident in life, okay? If you stay in that unknown, questionable space, if that's the language you're using, that's where you will live, and it will just get cloudier and cloudier. So that's the first recommendation. The second recommendation is begin to engage, step up, say something. When we get rocked by grief, we are so concerned that we can't take another hit. We're so concerned about what people are going to think about us. Are people going to judge me? Are they going to think I got this wrong? And I normally wouldn't get it wrong, so what's wrong with me? Well, here's the thing. Most of that has to do with what's going on in your head, not so much what other people are thinking. Pardon me. Mouth getting a little dry there. So most of that has to do with what's going on in our own heads and not what other people are thinking. But here's the important piece. Whether it's in the minds of those other people or not, if we want to begin to step forward and begin to recover some of that sense of certainty, some of that sense of empowerment, we have to begin to step forward, regardless of whether those questions are in other people's minds or not, because that's the way that we did before, okay? So get off the bleachers. We have to start to engage. And the perfect place to start engaging is right here within Stronger Than Grief. I have set up this group as a closed group. What that means is everything that you say here, all of your activity, all your posts, whatever questions you ask, it is only available to other members of Stronger Than Grief. So this is a bit of a safe space, and you can begin to say how you feel, ask questions, ask whatever you want, whatever you think you need to know more about, whatever you want to ask, if something is right, or if something is taking you in the right direction, whatever. This is a safe space because it is a closed group to people who are suffering and trying to overcome a loss just like you. Okay? And so that's why I'm here. That's why I put the time in to the group and offer the support through the group. So make use of it. One of my favorite proverbs that I've heard along the way is, "Behold the mighty turtle who only makes progress, though, when he comes out of the shell." Okay? So if you want to begin to step forward, if you want to begin to change things, if you want to begin to get your confidence back, your sense of empowerment back, to begin to feel strong, to get your mojo, whatever it is, if you want to begin to step in that direction, you can't do that from the sidelines. You've got to start stepping up. You've got to start saying how you feel. You've got to be willing to ask questions. You've got to begin to step into that zone. And once you do, you'll find that what you were fearing was nothing to fear. What's important is that you begin to step forward again. Okay? So those are a couple recommendations, a couple steps you can begin to take starting today. Again, speak up. Say, be willing to ask questions, be willing to say how you feel, stop, you know, putting how you feel, burying it, because that's not getting you where you need to be, and that's not putting you in a space of certainty. And again, the second recommendation, begin to watch your language. Take the possiblies, could be's, probablys, the I don't knows, take them out of your day-to-day and just watch the difference it begins to make in the way that you feel. So with that, again, any questions, post them below. Questions on today's topic, any other topics you'd like for me to cover, comment those below. Let me know that these morning minutes segments are working for you, that they're going in the right direction, how we can make them better. And again, your comments help Facebook to know that that you see this is important, so they make sure it shows up in your news feed. Again, no one outside of Stronger Than Grief will see it, okay? And also, it lets Facebook know that it's something that would be valuable for other Stronger Than Grief members as well. So thanks for being here, for listening, for beginning to engage, and let's start to get that mojo, that confidence, that sense of certainty moving in the right direction. And whatever you need, I'm here to help you. Okay? So this is Coach D signing off for today, and as always, wishing you your very best day. Talk to you soon.